This is 7-5 Radio with Walter Yerkew and Peter Scoop Stanton. This is the radio show that will break your neck if your neck needs breaking. And here are the hosts of 7-5 Radio, Walter Yerkew, star of the biggest documentary movie ever made, The 7-5, and Peter Scoop Stanton, who starred in To Catch a Predator.
Well, it's a Saturday night. This is Walter Yerkew. You are listening to 7-5 Radio on the Liberty News Radio Network. Scoop is on vacation, and helping me out again this week is our own Heather McBride. How is Heather this week?
I'm doing good, Walter. It's good to hear your voice.
Okay. It's good to hear your voice too. You're doing very well, I must say. Handling last week's end of the show power outage quite well. People remember last week they lost phone service, so we got cut off the last couple minutes of our show. And we were just about to say goodnight anyway, so no harm, no foul. We're back again this week. Scoop's on vacation. He's supposed to be out on the water somewhere, I don't know, near Lake George or something in New York. He's visiting his folks. He said he was out on the water trying to help save some stranded boaters, of course, of the female persuasion. Knowing him. So.
We're getting a lot of interesting dispatches from Scoop.
Yeah. But then again, he gets real excited.
Yeah.
So he's got to check the parts to the puzzle before he gets overly excited. Because he's a recently single. He's a recently single man, and I just, anytime he says he has a date, I says, cool, what's his name? And, so if he's, if that's the side of the home plate that he's swinging from, that's fine with me, but I don't think so. I like to pick on him a little bit every now and then. I gotta keep him on his toes, so to speak. Gotta keep him on his toes, so to speak. So I
wanted to know more. Did he send us a photo of a llama? What was that? There was some sort of animal just on a main street in a small town that he sent us. I don't know what's going on up there on his vacation.
I believe that was so.
That explains it.
One of those things. It's one of those things, when she takes off her shirt and you think she still has the sweater on. It's a uh-oh moment. Anyway, that's our friend Scoop. I'm sure he's listening right now. Hopefully he's not the only one listening, but yeah, he's enjoying himself apparently. So we haven't had any, major sirens going off or notifications from upstate New York that there's, some nutty guy up there, breaking the law or being disorderly and, trying to run naked down the beach or something. So far so good. He's behaving himself, but still got 2 weeks to go. You never know.
We'll take it.
You never know.
Good for you, Scoop. Stand on the right side of the law up there.
Yeah, for the first time. We're going to get down to this to start talking about. There are, in my book, these are two nationwide. We're going to talk about three nationwide concerns. The first one I'd like to bring up would be the Long Island serial killer arrest. You know about that serial killer thing on Long Island, do you not, Heather?
I know about it. I remember as it was unfolding. I can't believe, and I think a lot of us forgot about it, right? I can't believe, finally, sometimes you got to wait for these things.
There are so many groups, on social media, keeping it going. There was just a Netflix documentary on it last year that came out. A few years ago, there was something on like American Justice or something, and then there was on some of the other cable channels. In 2010, police on Long Island. Now this is the South Shore of Long Island, Gilgo Beach area, Fire Island Beach area. Got a call about 2 or 3 a.m. from a young lady who said that somebody was after her and she thinks they're trying to kill her. Well, police came, but they couldn't find her. Missing persons report was filed the next day, I believe by her mom, who lived in New Jersey. During the search for this young lady, Suffolk County Police Department found 4 sets of skeletal remains of other people. Hence, they found in the ensuing days, they found 4 or 5 more, 11 altogether, and including finally a year later, they found this lady, young lady, unfortunately deceased, all in the same area. Some of the skeletal remains were sectioned off or dismembered, and other parts were found in another part of Long Island, about 40 miles away, from the same remains. Now, hence the Long Island serial killer, or the Long Island Ripper, or the Gilgo Beach murderer. They come up with all kinds of names, when something like this pops up. However, until that point, whoever was doing this was undetected. The killings go back to 1995. So between 1995 and 2013, when they finished, when they found 11 total sets of remains, we don't know if there's more. They tried to link it to the police department because the police department out there dropped the ball. They thought it was the police chief that was in charge. They thought it was a big secret society kind of party. How can I say? Most of these girls, or in fact all of these, one was a man and one was a young infant. They believe the Oriental man was dressed, cross-dressed as a female. And
yes,
these people were sex workers advertising on Craigslist. And on Craigslist, they would go to parties, entertain, whatever escorts do or how they make their money makes no difference to me. And that's where they were coming from Craigslist. And they thought it was a group on Long Island that was getting a girl and then killing her. And we're going to get back to that right after this again. So we'll be back after these messages.
The spirit of the American West is alive and well in Range Magazine, the award-winning quarterly devoted to the issues of the American West. Each issue contains informative articles, breathtaking imagery, as well as the culture of cowboy spirit today, and gift ideas, like this year's Buckaroo calendar. Order online from rangemagazine.com. Loving Liberty Network salutes the spirit of the American West at rangemagazine.com.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
theepictimes.com.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
You're back, and Scoop is just getting back from posting insults on Twitter. This is still 7.5 Radio.
Okay, good back. Good back, and then we keep going. I'm here with Heather McBride, and we're talking about this Gilgo Beach murder arrest, Long Island serial killer arrest. I was at when they were finding these unfortunate victims in 2011, 12, and 13. 11 altogether, and they thought it was some rich guy out there that was having parties, and they were just calling in these sex workers to have their way with them and then dispose of them. As it turned out, it seemed like the Suffolk County Police Department wasn't sharing information with the FBI. The FBI was trying to come in. They were forcing them out. They weren't letting them in. They weren't exchanging evidence, or they weren't exchanging information. So finally, with a new police commissioner, a new district attorney, new police chief, new personnel, they put together a plan, and this guy come up on the radar about a year and a half ago, and they've been keeping an eye on him. They lock him up on Friday night. His name is Rex Humer from Massapequa Park. Of course, Billy Baldwin had to chime in today on Twitter saying that he went to high school with him. Does he need 15 minutes of fame on the tail end of this? But whatever, that's Billy Baldwin for you.
Oh, wow. Any excuse to be relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I could say, I went to high school on Long Island. I graduated in '76. Okay, I played football and baseball and track and field against the school that this guy was going to. So, I could do the same thing. But it's just absolutely ridiculous. I played football at East Meadow High School on Long Island, and Joe Rifkin was going to East Meadow High School. I was going to Sewanaka while we were playing baseball against the school. Maybe he was in the crowd. I don't know. Who cares? Who cares what you
Yes.
Probably bullied him for his money or something. Anyway, but this fella, the guy's an architect in New York. First thing I thought of was George Costanza, because George Costanza always wanted to be an architect. But that's,
Art
again,
Vandelay. Yes.
Yeah. Vandelay Industries. So he, he has a house in Long Island. He bought the house he grew up in, and they scanned the area. And Massapequa Park is kind of a nice, middle class suburban neighborhood, and he's got the worst house on the block, which it's like the mechanic's car is the worst car running in town, I guess. So he spent all his money on sex workers and porn and stuff like that. So they followed this guy for a year and a half.
Yeah.
They're watching to make sure he doesn't kill anybody else. And what he does is he apparently his first wife divorced him. His second wife is from Iceland. He's got 2 grown children with special needs. Daughter works for him. And he is just, like the guy, the BTK guy, the guy down the street. Joe Rifkin, the guy down the street. Jeffrey Dahmer, the guy down the street. And this, and they always say, well, we never thought it would happen in our neighborhood. It's such a quiet neighborhood. I mean, the cliche's got to go. Let's come up with something new because there are more serial killers out there. So they find one in your neighborhood. Don't start saying the guy was creepy. He always creepy. He never said hello. It's a bunch of crap. So anyway, be that as it may, they arrest this guy on 3 of the 11 murders. Somebody from the FBI is saying that there's 2 killers and they probably don't know each other. Who knows? Anytime something big hits the news, they always dust off these old guys that were, with the FBI in the 1950s and 60s, and they dust them off and they put them up front and they start talking, just taking up airtime, probably like I'm doing now.
Well, anything to fill the 24-hour news cycle. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and they repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And the people ask the same questions. It'll all unravel. The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office is not going to give everything, and they don't have to. What they did give was, how they found them through burner phone records, email records, and pinging off certain towers near him and the victim, the potential victim, and then they would confirm and meet, and all the pinging helped. Now, DNA evidence puts the guy at the scene of the crime. They found one of his hair, a male hair that belongs to him, underneath the duct tape of one victim. And then they found hair underneath the duct tape of 2 other victims, but it was his wife's DNA hair, his wife's hair. So, and these 3 times they can confirm that his wife and his kids were not home. They were away for those days that these atrocities happened. So it seems like, he brought them home, did his thing, drove about 15 minutes to Gilgo Beach and dumped them off. And if this is the case, he's never getting out of jail again. Doesn't matter what kind of a deal he's going to cut. He's looking at least 25 to life on each and every count. He's got murder and first-degree murder and second-degree murder on each of the 3 victims, plus desecration of a corpse. You name it. The attorney's going to throw everything, at the fan. And there's another girl that they think he's responsible for. I look at it like this. They caught the guy. Well, they caught a guy. I always believed there was more than one person involved with this. And my point is that, my point is that if you remember, well, I remember, it was the Atlanta child murders back in the 80s. 29 children were murdered, I believe. And then there were 2 grown adults that were murdered. Well, that guy, Wayne Williams, that they caught for all those murders, he only went away for the 2 adult males. All the child murders are considered closed, but were never confirmed that it was him. I believe this is going to be the same thing. They're going to sentence this guy, on these 3 or 4 murders that he's been indicted for, and that's going to be it. But I believe that there's more than one culprit here. How about you? What do you think? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm definitely, I would defer to you on the law enforcement front of it. I think what strikes me about this story is it's yet another example, and you brought it up, it's very, you hear it over and over again where the neighbors say they never liked the guy, they never trusted the guy. There's always like a lot of very high functioning, talented people who end up being responsible for such atrocities. Look at the Idaho murder situation. A grad student, functional, able to, for the most part, do a decent job covering his tracks, at least initially. I mean, enough time passed. I know they had their eye on him before they announced the arrest. But I would just say, I don't know if it was more than one person. I was captivated by this story. I think it's just so sad. You think of women who end up in this profession, and I'm sure everybody goes into it thinking it's a temporary scenario, and they end up, you know, at the hands of a predator, and then that's the end of their story. And it seemed like a lot of them really had people who loved them. I was most disturbed in this story, honestly, by something I read earlier today, which was that he used one of his victim's cell phones and called her 16-year-old sister and said, you know, do you know what your sister does for a living? And that takes it, I don't know, doesn't it take it past the compulsion to hurt? And it's like a really sick practice to be preying on family members of a victim after you've done just the ultimate atrocity to them.
Yeah, and the pings were from that cell phone to the New Jersey residence were from his Fifth Avenue offices. So it's one in a million. But hey, listen, I don't believe in coincidence. Never did. You know, if you think something happened, it probably did. And that's what this guy was about. So we're glad he's in custody, and hopefully the Suffolk County Police Department can figure out the rest of this scenario. All right, we're gonna head out, and we are going to come back with cocaine, no cane.
Exposing corruption, informing citizens, pursuing liberty. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
USA News. I'm Jerry Barnash. Police in Georgia are searching for the suspect in connection to a shooting that left 4 dead in a town about 30 miles south of Atlanta. Authorities have identified the suspect as Andre Longmore, who they say is in his mid-50s. President Biden is spending the weekend at Camp David along with First Lady Jill Biden.
The visit to the presidential retreat in the Maryland mountains follows a whirlwind trip to Europe where Biden took part in the NATO summit. On Friday, the president's re-election campaign reported raising $72 million in the second quarter. That topped the combined fundraising totals of former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the leading candidates in the Republican presidential primary. I'm Julie Ryan.
The White House is criticizing House Republicans for hijacking the annual defense bill with conservative amendments. Congressional Republicans added a number of last-minute amendments to the measure, limiting abortion and inclusion initiatives. The administration is defying the Supreme Court when it comes to student debt forgiveness.
The U.S. Department of Education announced in a press release Friday that more than 804,000 Americans will be automatically forgiven over $39 billion in student loan debt in the next few weeks. The new debt forgiveness plan comes only weeks after the Supreme Court rejected President Biden's more expansive forgiveness plan, which was ruled as illegal under federal law. USA News. I'm Tim Berg.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is said to be in good condition after being rushed to a hospital on Saturday. Netanyahu released a video statement later in the day saying it was likely a case of dehydration after spending time with his wife in the Sea of Galilee. Heat is a problem in the USA as well, as dozens of cities could break records by Monday, including several topping triple digits. This is USA News.
The Dell Technologies Black Friday and July event has arrived with limited quantity deals on top tech to power any passion. Save on select XPS PCs and more powered by the latest Intel Core processors. Plus, get savings on select monitors and accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to U.S. residents by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Wow, you're still listening? Here's more 7.5 Radio.
All right, we're coming into our third segment of this wonderful show. Scoop tells me that I need to wish Liberty News Radio a happy anniversary, but he didn't tell me how many anniversaries it was. So happy anniversary to Liberty News Radio Network. Okay, getting on with our show. Heather and I are talking right now about the no-cane in the White House. This is from a statement from the Secret Service. Without physical evidence, the agency couldn't narrow the list of possible suspects beyond 500 staffers and visitors and determined that interviewing all 500 just wasn't worth it. Wow. Okay, so
doesn't that say it all?
Yeah, so we have cocaine in supposedly the most protected place on Earth. We have it found at the Executive West entrance, okay? At the Executive's West entrance. Now, we talked about the Executive West entrance last week, too, and anybody could walk through that door. And, of course, Karine Jean-Pierre, whatever she keeps saying, the Bidens, left Friday night and they didn't get back till Tuesday. The cocaine was found on Sunday. Well, hey, if Hunter was there on Thursday and Friday, it's a distinct possibility that he left it there. It wasn't left there 2 minutes before the Secret Service agent found it. Unless it was his and it fell out of his pocket and he grabbed it so it wouldn't look like it was his. Who knows? But there's no drug tests. They didn't order any drug tests of anybody that has access to the entrance. No one. Everybody should have been drug tested. Like I said, they're all civil servants. They're all civil servants. I don't care if some of them work for private contractors. The private contractors are being paid by taxes. So that's our money. Everybody should have been drug tested Monday. What do you think, Heather?
I couldn't agree with you more. I've had friends and family members who have worked for the federal government. They always had to submit to a drug test before taking the job, and I don't understand why, if cocaine was found, that they wouldn't be asked to take an additional one. It's the condition of the job. We all know to whom this cocaine probably got dropped accidentally. Whoever, we know whose pocket it was likely in. And I always wonder when each of these stories comes out, is this the one where the DNC is going to run with it and replace Biden with who they consider to be a more suitable candidate? And then it seems like, whether it's the documents in the garage or the cocaine in the West Wing, I keep thinking this is going to be the one, and then it doesn't seem to be the one. So it leaves me with more questions than answers.
Yeah, sure, and it always does on their end. If it was a Trump administration and it was found, they'd be strip searching Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric, and even poor Barron would have to go to the school nurse to be stripped down and searched,
yes.
and drug tested, and Donald Trump and Melania, themselves would have had to, squatted or stood and peed in the cup.
And the media would have settled for nothing less.
Right, exactly. And that narrative would still be running. And this investigation would still be going on right up through the election next year. So, the collusion thing lasted 4 freaking years. It's just such a ridiculous thing that, it's the sword that the DNC swings, that this White House swings just doesn't swing in their own direction. And people are their worst enemies when they're doing, stupid stuff. They're their own worst enemies when they do stupid stuff. Right then and there, everybody should have been tested. Does the president want to, claim what executive? What do they call that? Not executive order, executive indifference.
Privilege.
I forget what they call, where he doesn't have to privilege. Yeah. And the vice president too. They would have claimed that, with their spouses and their husbands and their kids, and that's where we would be. But Hunter is not the president. He's just the president's son. It's like if my father was a billionaire, I'm nothing but a rich man's son. I'm not the rich man. And in this case, Hunter needed to be tested. Anybody who came through those doors needed to be tested. And if they wanted to claim privilege, well, then it's like claiming the fifth on the stand. You have a right to do that, but, why are you doing it? So this cocaine, no cane thing, they closed it in 5 days, 6 days. It's so, if it was my house would be upside down. They'd walked out of here with paper bags and boxes full of stuff, trying to find residue on every damn thing that was in my house. But over there, you mean there wasn't any prints or touch DNA on that baggie that they found the white powder in? Because now this is how it works. All right, you take the bag, you dump it out, you chop it up, you make lines, you snort it. Then a little while later, you dump out the bags and you chop it up, and you make little lines and you snort it. Well, you wipe. What do you do after you sniff cocaine? I imagine that you're wiping your nose with your fingers, with your hands, and what's your hands touching next? The little baggie. So there should have been DNA on it. Yeah, and are they going to say chain of command? Well, like I said last week, did the guy take a picture of it before they picked it up? Did the guy just pick it up with, the proper instrument and put it in an envelope? What was the chain of custody? That kind of thing. It's just beyond me that procedures aren't known on how this got allowed.
Well, they have a problem on their hands. Hunter finds new ways to disgrace the family. And quite honestly, I don't even think this is the worst Hunter story, if it was his, in the last 30 days. Mm-hmm. I'm more outraged and disgusted by the silence of the Biden family when it comes to Hunter's paternity problems with his love child, or not love child. I think it was more of even more brief than that. The mother of his child in the South, where he's holding out on monthly payments, and she had to get the justice system involved. That disgusts me more than his ongoing drug issue. Again, if it's his, we don't know, but I do think if it is Hunter's, and I'm guessing it is, and I think a lot of us assume that it is, that would explain why they're not investigating. But at the same time, I think everything you're saying makes absolute sense. And not investigating is really, it's taking the White House, which is supposed to be, as you said, one of the most secure places on earth. And it is a place that you would think most Americans would consider worthy of protection. And it's not getting any of that. If we're not getting any answers, so we don't know. We don't know if it's Hunter's and they just don't want to discuss it, or if it's someone else's, and what the heck is going on over there.
And the White House. I have a confession to make. When I was in the 5th grade, we had an overnight school trip to go visit the White House. Okay, Nixon was in office in 1968, 1969, and he won in 68. This is 1969, and I used to chew gum, and I did manage to stick my wad of gum underneath a piece of furniture in the White House when I was there. So I have a confession. That's my
Oh,
confession.
boy.
So
Wow.
I'll probably have the Secret Service, the Men in Black, knocking on my door in 20 minutes.
Are the helicopters descending
and,
right now, just coming to get you?
well, I live right by the Air Force Base, so you know they might scramble a few jets this way. Start taking aerial views of my property and stuff. But yeah, that's my confession on that. And I was what, 10? So that's 54 years ago that happened. So, you know, I think the statute is long finished.
You might be in the clear.
Well, you know, we're going to come back and we are going to discuss what every household is facing these days. For Heather McBride and Walter, we will be right back on 75 Radio.
Do you treasure your liberty? Well, at lovingliberty.net, we most certainly do. And we want to help protect your liberty too. Become part of the family. Everyone knows that the core of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect the integrity of its family, we the people. Won't you join us as a Loving Liberty sponsor to help us promote the principles in the 5,000-year leap? Let's restore the miracle that changed the world at lovingliberty.net.
As you are aware, America is divided over every fault line possible. This is intentionally fostered by those who do not love God, family, or country. We believe a peaceful future as a free people absolutely depends on civility. Clarion Call for Civility is looking for funding and volunteers at every level to make our hopes and efforts a reality. Please donate, sign our pledge, and help us in our sacred cause. Please visit callforcivility.com for more details. Callforcivility.com.
Fighting for the soul of liberty and true pursuit of happiness for everyone. Freedom Fest 2023 is coming to the home of the blues and birthplace of rock and roll, Memphis, Tennessee, July 12th through 15th. It's the ultimate summit for liberty, educating and empowering through art, music, film, and comedy, while promoting economic freedom and highlighting today's political issues. Use promo code ROUND50 to save $50 off the current rate. Reserve your spot at freedomfest.com. See you in Memphis.
My name is Christian Knuckles. I prophesy there will be no revival until the church leadership stops lying to the people. I'm the first soldier of the spiritual body of Christ, the Lion of Judah, the Confederate Church of Christ. I'm here to declare the lion will lie down with the lamb when the lying stops. A message from Christ Kingdom Ministries and brought to you by ConfederateChurchofChrist.com.
This is 7.5 Radio with Walter Yuku. Walter Yurkow. Walter Kiwi. Here's Walton Scoop.
All right. Happy Saturday night to us. Everybody out there having a good time, listening to 7.5 Radio. All is well. All is good. We are going to move on for our last segment to the grocery store, supermarket stores. Prices have skyrocketed. And this has only been happening in the last 3.5 years or so. 2.5 years. And, 3.5 because of COVID. You know, COVID had a lot to do with stuff like that going up. But it was under control. I believe it was under control. You know, the trucks were moving through freely. The quote-unquote supply chain that we don't understand, according to Kamala Chameleon. We just don't, us Americans, we just don't understand the supply chain. Kamala Chameleon, we never had to understand the supply chain before because it never came into question. So that's part of the reason. They're also claiming the war in Ukraine is putting a damper. Now, what that has to do with it, hell, I don't know. I've read about this the past 2 or 3 months, and it makes absolutely no sense that the war in Ukraine, the avian flu and higher costs along the supply chain are our problem. We should not be having a problem. We are the strongest, or were the strongest economy in the world 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And now we are just hanging on. And this government, this administration is doing precisely what was predicted that they would do, is they want everybody to start to depend on the government to support them. Isn't that something?
You're doing a great
they
job.
Want us to support.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing my damnedest not to. I am doing my damnedest not to. I'm in Social Security. I retired early, and I got a nest egg, and I got Social Security, and when I turn 65, I'll get at least Part A Medicare. Not so much Part B yet. I think I might wait if I'm long enough, if I'm well enough to make it to 67 and a half to get that, because to get Part B is $175 a month for me. And I'd rather keep the insurance I have now and just keep paying on that. And at least I know what I got. Anyway, the prices are, 20 years ago, I paid 15 cents, when I was singular, after I got split up and raising Zachary, who was 3 years old at the time, I would get him he loved the macaroni and cheese. Yeah, and I'd buy the box like any other parent. I'd buy the box, and it was like 28 cents a box. Now it's like $2.28 a box for a box of little pasta, a half pound of pasta, and powdered some kind of powdered cheese, like freeze dried fake cheese. No
one knows what that actually is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they may have found out in the White House it was just bleached. Who knows? So the thing is that you used to. Well, I'm not even going to say you used to. I'm going to talk about now. Now you're lucky if you get 6 days worth of groceries to stretch into 7 or 8. For $90 to $125 a week, which is utterly ridiculous. Now, I'm single. I live alone, and I find it more and more difficult every time I go to the supermarket to shop. And there's things I'm not going to give up. I mean, there's things that, have almost doubled in price that I just won't give up. And that's okay. That's on me. And if I can afford to buy them, I'm going to buy them. But I'm talking about the incidentals that you used to get, name brand foods. And now, you're buying store brand foods, whether it's Food City or, what is it? Not Grand Union, Grand something at Walmart, Grand Value at Walmart. You start buying, the lower, how can I say? A lower class of food, because you open up a can of corn from Green Giant is different from a Walmart can. It's totally different. Almost looks like cream corn in a Walmart can. So, you're buying stuff, secondhand stuff. If you're trying to get chicken nuggets, you're just buying, meat that they used to step on and throw away. Now they're scraping it off the ribs to make chicken nuggets. And what we're eating, you have to be careful what you eat. And not only that, you have to be careful how much you spend. Now, everybody in America should be able to get what they want, to have what they want, and to enjoy what they want. Cigarettes. I don't smoke anymore. I haven't smoked in 30 years. But cigarettes are, forget it. It's ridiculous. $8 a pack.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember as a kid they were 30 cents a pack when I was 25 cents a pack when I was a kid.
When I was in
my mom
college,
used to
they
send me
were in the 90s. They were about $2.29.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember my mom sending me on my little bicycle to the gas station to get her a carton of Benson and Hedges 100s, and she gave me $3, and I kept the change. So it's. But if you smoke and you complain you can't buy food, well, stop smoking because I got no love for you there. Okay, get rid of the cigarettes. Okay, the car payments.
Yes.
Oh, right, the car payments. Now GM is signing, 10-year loans, 10-year car loans. You have 120 months to pay back a $90,000 vehicle. Now, why in the hell do you need a $90,000 vehicle? I don't know. I've never been one to try to keep up with the Joneses and the Smiths. Never. All my vehicles that I own right now are more than 20 years old. And I take care of them. And I think my daily driver's got almost 400,000 miles on it. My pickup truck that I bought when I moved down here 25 years ago has 300,000 miles on it. And God knows what my convertible has on it because that odometer broke years ago. But it's an 88.
And so, that's exactly what they don't want you to do, right? Hold on to your cars, stretch them a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything is supposed to be disposable right now. From your food to your cars, everything else.
I put a new motor in my truck. Oh, I don't know, 2000. It's a 99 model. In 2015 or so, at the end of 2015, it had 50,000 miles on it, and the engine blew. So I shopped around to look for another truck because, I'm down here in the South. I need a pickup truck. And I couldn't find anything under 12, 13 grand with less than 130,000 miles. So I wasn't about to buy anybody's headache. So I bought a new crate motor for it and had it installed. It cost me $6,000. And I got a new truck. I got the truck with 0 miles on. And my insurance, I'm not going to tell you how much I pay in insurance down here, but it's not a lot. And I have 4 vehicles on my insurance, and it's not a lot because of the age of them. And they run like a top. I make sure that they run. If something goes wrong, I get it fixed, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's where I save my money. In groceries now, forget about it. If you smoke and you have car payments, okay, and then you got, of course, you got to have the best cell phone in the world. If you got all that and you complain that food is expensive, well, you're right. Food is expensive, and you should complain about it, but you need to cut back, at least for now, until we get somebody else in the White House that knows what they're doing. It might not be the next term or the term after. It might not even be in my lifetime. But like my parents used to say, plan for the rainy day. Well, right now, the rainy day is here. But people threw away their umbrellas.
It's here. But what I do
people
find
threw away their
concerning,
umbrellas. Mm-hmm.
One thing I find concerning is that I was looking at the foods that are remaining higher priced right now, and it's the ingredients of home cooking: flour, raw ground beef, chicken, breakfast cereal. So if you think about someone, so I have 4 children, including, by the way, a 6-foot-tall 14-year-old boy who eats the amount of 3 humans every single day. And our grocery bill is probably about $400 a week after all is said and done. And that is not a lot of takeout. That is mostly groceries. So you think about it, and what would be the cheaper option for me right now would be to feed that kid and my other 3 fast food. And I start to wonder, is that where I'm being pushed? Am I being pushed to feed them fast foods so that they're less healthy? And then they're more controllable and they're relying on the healthcare system. I don't know. Just makes you wonder.
Yeah. Another week has gone by. I thank Heather for joining me tonight. We'll be back next week, again, without Scoop, but with Heather. Everybody have a great, safe, nice week.
Bye, guys.
Hope you love one.
This is James Edwards for 7-5 Radio. For those who work the streets and the jails, thanks for keeping us safe. So long, everybody.